What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more Martin Gore, and we're returning to the Counterfeit Squared album 2003, not to be confused with the Counterfeit EP from the 80s. And we're going to listen to a tune called Stardust. Once again, shout out to Adam for sharing this and a number of other artists in my reaction deep dives. But yeah, Stardust, it is both a term that can be viewed more, let's say, allegorically or literarily rather than astronomically, but there is also, I think, a scientific manner in which one can see that term, which is to say the heavy elements that are expelled from a destroyed or unraveled star and which then can be aggregated into large, what's the right word, nebulous clouds, which then can serve as stellar nurseries for the formation of new stars. So yes, and in a real sense, any atom like above, what is it? It's not helium, but above a certain molecular weight or atomic number, it's required for stars to blow up, meaning the simplest atoms can form through, let's say, more natural cosmic processes, but the heavier elements are only formed in the deaths of stars, supernovas in particular. And we, who are made of carbon and some other elements, we are ourselves the product of stardust. So again, I think there's a way to see it more scientifically or more figuratively, the idea of this magic substance which perhaps has fantastical qualities. But, you know, on the view of some, there's a merging of those two concepts whereby life is created through stardust. So, yes, I wonder if that will have anything to do with the tune. I imagine not. It could be just a visual backdrop or a conceptual starting point for a more particular narrative between people. Not having heard all that much solo music by Martin Gore, I don't really have a sense if his writing is notably different from his writing in Depeche Mode when he did his solo projects, though I wouldn't imagine that to be the case. In any case, let's give it a listen. This is Stardust by Martin Gore from his 2003 album Counterfeit Squared, meaning counterfeit with a superscript 2 above the word. She's like, what?
Look what they've done to the rock and roll clown. Rock and roll clown, look, he's down on the ground. Well, he used to fly, but he crashed out the sky in a stardust ring. Hey, rock and roll king is down. Roll on up, won't you come and take a look at me now? Roll on up, come one at a time and see me. See my painted on grin as I stand up to say, in a stardust ring, hey, rock and roll king is down. But he's the leader of the band. Oh, he's a lonely man. Don't you wanna take his hand? Yes, you know you can. Stardust ring, hey, rock and roll king is down.
What a crazy tune. So sonically, it's obviously very languid and heavy. It feels like it's breaking down. Maybe there's some conceptual stylings there. But there's still some electricity and buzz about it. Again, maybe some conceptual relevance in relation to the lyrics. But I feel like it does sound a bit different from Depeche Mode tunes, even if I suppose there are some that, in a general description, this heavy, like lumbering type of feel, you could say there's some similarities. Nevertheless, I do wonder whether, isn't there a casino? The Stardust, isn't that a venue, a casino in Vegas? And if we're talking about like a king of rock and roll, whether you're talking Elvis or otherwise, it sounds like a faded rock star, someone who was flying high, top of the world, much acclaimed, big crowds, whatever, but has come crashing down to earth in this, what was it, like a circle of Stardust? I forget exactly what the phrase was. And of course the idea of, touring the world formally, but then ending up in sort of a singular residency, maybe with dwindling crowds. I wondered if there was some actual Vegas connection. But even if I sweep that aside, it does sound like someone who doesn't have the luster, doesn't have the shine that they used to, and there's a sadness to it, but still an attempt to engage, still an attempt to do something in terms of that career. So yeah, as I said, it feels like there's a downturn or a passage of time that has not been kind, but there's still some luster to it, which again, given what I heard in the Sonics, it feels like both of those themes or sides of the story may be represented in some of the Sonics. I do like that middle section where it got very intense and gritty, and there was like this, not drone, but like this dissonant buzz that took over the track for a short period. That was my favorite moment, I think. A shorter tune. I don't know exactly how long that was. Let me see. Like the file closed. Hold on one moment. Okay, so just over 3 minutes, like 3 minutes and 7 seconds. So definitely a shorter one. But again, having only heard an EP and now 2 tracks of his solo work, I don't know how common that is. I would say it's less common with Depeche Mode. I feel like a lot of Depeche Mode tunes, even going back, were 4 or 5 minutes long, and later as they went on, there'd be 6, 7 minute tunes. So I feel like it's a bit anomalous in terms of the duration. And I actually was surprised, because there were a couple moments where I would feel the tension building, and then an element would come in and it would drop back into the next measure. I thought that might happen one more time, but instead it just sort of evaporated like Stardust and dispersed back into the cosmos. But yeah, ultimately an enjoyable tune. Lyrically, I have a sense that it's about a more terrestrial narrative, and one perhaps specifically related to the life arc or career arcs of musicians who might burn hot and bright like a star earlier in their career, and then be reduced to the ashes of an exploded star, the stardust, as time goes on. But again, seemingly still with some life, some attempt to forge ahead despite a changed and downturned situation. And yeah, vocally, nothing that really stood out to me, but nothing bad either, just a sort of subdued vocal within a brighter or heavier sonic atmosphere, so I suppose even that could have some conceptual relevance. But yeah, once again, cool to go through some material, because when I was listening to Depeche Mode in the 90s and early 2000s, I actually didn't know that Martin Gore had done any solo material. Now, again, part of that is because by the time you get to the mid and later half of the 90s into the 2000s, I was very much diving headfirst into the world of trance and techno and underground rave parties and going to punk shows and so on. So even though I was still following Depeche Mode, I didn't have a lot of musical room for things outside of the handful of groups in, let's say, like pop music that I had been following. So yeah, it just never came across my radar. Cool to catch up now. Once again, shout out to Adam. Let me know what you think, and I will see you next time. Peace.